things in my life change so rapidly, even I can hardly keep up with it. My life is constantly seeing and experiencing myself differently with people, enjoying people more, being in a place of more openness, vulnerability. I guess you might say I'm really, as far as where I'm at, I'm pretty excited about life. I mean, I love life.
Is this your Sahavas?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah, this is my first time here.
Well, welcome. A big warm welcome from all of us.
Okay, so we're here, or I'm here, to hear about how I came to know Mayor Baba.
Yeah.
This goes back with me back into, well, go back as far as 1959. And at that time, I wasn't interested in school anymore. In fact, I quit school. I did not want to be a part of my high school or anything. I didn't find any interest there. So I had walked one day into the dean's office and said, I want to leave school. And he didn't seem to say much. He said, well, what I have to do is call your father, and if he says okay, then you can leave. So he called up my father at his office. My father was in the real estate business at that time, and he gave my father the news. He says, your son wants to leave school, my son Edward, and it's up to you. And he said, well, and he said to him, whatever he wants to do, let him do. You know, that was it. You know, I was going. I was out of that office right then. I was free. To me, it was freedom. And I was thinking maybe I'll get a motorcycle or something like that. You know. Yeah, definitely. Where I want to travel to and things like that. And I got at that time became interested in show business. Became interested actually in the acting end of show business. I had at that time just seen a movie of James Dean, which was East of Eden and then Rebel Without a Cause, and that inspired me to become an actor. So in that, I remember saying to my father that I wanted to go to acting school, and he seemed to like that. So he was behind me in that and supportive. So I went to acting school, and I was there for probably a few months, and then they wanted to do a 3-act professional play at that time in Miami Beach. And I was not interested at that time in, I'd say, you know, being in a play or anything like that. I didn't think I had the experience. So I just kind of said, well, no, I'm not going to go for the casting. And someone had heard that and said to me, well, why don't you just do it for the experience? And I said, well, yeah, that's a good idea. So I went, I did go, and it turned out, well, anyhow, they gave me the lead part in that play. And then I went over to the director and said, well, it's really wonderful that, you know, I'm now asked to do the lead part, but I don't know if I can remember all the lines. And anyhow, it was her name was Mrs. Foreman, and she said, well, just try, you know. And I said, well, I could do that, and I could do the 3-act play. Then I was on my way to New York, and it was in New York where I made the rounds of the different theater agencies at that time. But I think what I'll do is probably backtrack a little bit before that, because that'll give more of an idea of where I had my first spiritual, you know, thoughts came from. See, in my youth, I never thought about God. Spirituality was never part of my thinking. It was perhaps the furthest thing. I mean, it was something that would be, if someone mentioned spirituality, I wouldn't even know what they were talking about or God. I do remember where I was really at was like into really partying, making money, you know, really some interesting, neat stuff going on in my life. And then that's where I was really at. experimenting and kissing women and stuff like that. I was out there. I started a party in one place, and then I created another party in another part of town. You know, it was pretty wild where I was coming from at that time. One party had all the motorcycle people, the other part, you know, had all the people with the ties and the shirts and things like that. Yeah, things like that going on. So obviously, I wasn't thinking of God at that time. But then my brother had asked me one day if I wanted to hear somebody give a talk. And I figured, no, what do I want to hear somebody give a talk for? You know? He said, well, if you're not doing anything the following evening, you know, we can hear this talk. And I said, yeah, if I'm not doing anything, fine. So the following evening, my brother caught hold of me and he said, well, are you doing anything now? I said, no. And he says, well, then let's hear this talk. So I said, sure. So I was working. What is he talking about? Some talk. And I'd never heard him even mention anything about talk. So he was interested in going to talks. So this was really weird. Couldn't figure it out. Where are we going, you know? And so I just had to trust wherever he was taking me. You know? So anyhow, he drove me to this place in Miami Beach. It was a big auditorium, and this guy gave up. His name was Irwin, and he was talking about his father, Edgar Casey, who had a spiritual foundation and was like a healer. He could heal people at a distance and things like that. And then after the talk, he said, if you all want to meet again, for those that want to hear more, then the following evening we're going to meet, but in another place. So I didn't really connect with anything at that point that really meant that much to me, other than that my brother seemed to be interested. So he said, well, do you want to go the following evening? And I said, yeah, if I'm not doing anything. So we went, and it was in a hotel, and it was in a small room, and I kind of like browsed through some of the books, like it had about reincarnation, and I kind of went through that, and I noticed that whatever I read about reincarnation or like karma, things like that, seemed to me like I was able to, it was like familiar. Reincarnation was familiar to me, although I never thought about it. Meaning that if a person was to go obtain perfect knowledge, and I realized, yes, it would take many lifetimes, you know, and I understood it from that perspective. Anyhow, then at one point towards the end where he was talking about his father and his foundation, and he said that we could ask questions, and I'd pass out some little pieces of paper, and on there we could write any questions. So I noticed my brother is writing a question. And I figured, what is he writing? You know, what's he asking? You know? So anyhow, Hewlin read my brother's question. And so my brother had told me, you know, when he wrote down, I asked him. And so I knew when the question came up. And he read the question. The question was, have you seen the light? And it's like a shock went through him. And he got angry. And he said, oh, have I seen the light? He started to say, I went into cold showers. I went into hot showers. I did everything you could imagine to see this light. But I was waiting to hear him say, you know, that he actually saw it, and I never heard him say that. And then he literally lost it on that stage. He went into a rage. I mean, I could have, it went on fire. He said, I wouldn't be sitting here unless I'd seen the light. I said, guy's not seeing anything. His father, yes, but not him. This guy is out of control. It took him a while, but you know, he got down. Next question. And I was ready to get out of there.
Okay, sorry. Just an interview type of thing. My brother is, for those of you who may not know, a Muslim.
Yes.
Now, is he older or younger?
He's 2 years older.
Yes, I know.
However, out of that occurred one thing. I became very interested in this thought of the light, that there was a light that apparently his father did have an experience of, and it was referred to like being in touch with the universal mind. One was in touch with this mind, and they could know they could be at the source of knowledge. And so at that point, later on, I had gone to New York, and I was interested in becoming an actor at that time. And in so doing, I remember I went into this one church, and when I walked in there, this man, his name was John Dam, he came over to me, and he said, "Is there anything that I could help you with?" And I said, "Yes." I says, "What I'd like to know, do you know of anyone that has seen the light?" And he said to me, he said, "Yes, there's a friend of his that had seen the light." And I said, "Well, what was it like?" He said, "Well, in the experience of the light, he was able to he could resolve whatever problems came up. And he was like in harmony with his work, or whatever he was doing, he was like just in tune with everything. And then he misused the knowledge of the light, and thus lost the experience of that light. And since then has been searching to get the light back in his life. So then it hit me then for the first time. I said, well, now it's, so there is something to this light. There are people that have experienced it. And so then he says, is there anything else I can help you with? And I said, yes. I says, because I figured this light, it has to do with God. So I said to him, I'd like to know, how do you gain a communication with God? And so he referred me to some books. And I said, no, he said you could pray. You can pray. And I said, no, I'm talking about talking to God, having a conversation with God where you actually connect. And then he referred me to the book, he says, well, maybe you might want to read Saint Teresa, her Yogananda autobiography of a yogi. And so anyhow, I did get those books. It seemed that, but it didn't really, those books didn't really satisfy me. Yogananda spoke of his master and the experiences he had of his masters, from his masters, they were like experiences of other dimensions. And says, no, this is not what I'm interested in. I'm interested in actually where you get to talk to God, and he's right there with you, and, like that. And then Saint Teresa, she would like kind of talk to God. It was more like being in states of ecstasy. And I was not, still that was not my thing. I mean, I wasn't interested in experiencing like ecstasy or blissings or things like that. I want to have a direct conversation with God where we could really talk and get to know each other. So anyhow, I got disgusted with the books and just put them away. And then I came up with an idea. That kind of was making the rounds of different theater agencies to become an actor. And in so doing, I came up with an idea. I says, there might be a way, because I've heard that if you really want to talk to God or connect with God, then what you got to really do is just focus just on that alone. And so I figured, okay, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to focus directly on God. So I had at that time I was working at the RKO Palace Theater as an usher. Support myself while I'd be going around to the different theater agencies. And so I said, well, I got a half hour, and I'm going to just really block out everything else except to focus on getting that communication with God. So the room, I turned out the light, the room was pitch black, and that would help me just to concentrate. So I more or less, what I did is I just focused on God, whatever that was, and just waited for him to communicate to me his beingness. Well, anyhow, I sat there, and then I noticed that the room was starting to feel a little strange. And this room was pitch black, and I remember pitch black. And I was sitting in that chair waiting for God to talk to me. Well, the only that I could start to feel, I began to feel that the room was getting filled up with like people. Later on I found it was like entities or things like that, spirits. And the only thing, the room was starting to get really crowded. And I started, I was getting scared. I said, what is going on here? I knew nothing about it. And this is my first introduction to experiencing spirits. And the only thing that finally, I started to get really scared. And then finally it occurred to me, whoever these people are, they are not paying rent. What are they doing here? And I'm here on God business. I'm here to connect to God. They gotta go. I got so pissed. They split. I tried with God. They jumped down. So there I was in the room by myself. Waiting. Anyhow, now this went on for an hour, 2, 3 hours. Finally I says, it doesn't seem like anything's happening. I've been sitting here a long time, and nothing's changed. And then I remembered something, and it was where I had once read that if nothing happens, like as far as God, then it doesn't mean that it won't happen. It just means it's meant to happen at a later time. So I guess, to me it's meant to be at a later time. Okay. So at that point, 3 hours later, and I realized, I'm supposed to have been at work. I'm already 2.5 hours late. And there's nothing more to do here. So I got up, and I went to work. And when I went into work, it was really unusual. There you have to put on your usher uniform and everything. I went and put on my usher uniform. And it was really unusual. Nobody knew that I wasn't there the whole time. They just went up to the area that ordinarily I would usher. Nobody seemed to. It's like people were totally unconscious of the fact that I wasn't there. It's like I had been there, but really I wasn't there. As far as the way I could see the way they were at. So I said, so then I started to understand something for the first time, that God was somehow, that God had done something that these people didn't know that I wasn't there. And in that respect, that was, I think, my first awareness that something different was happening. Then shortly after that, I had gone to the New York Public Library. Yes. Okay. We'll get right there. Okay. So I had come across this book, Listen Humanity, in the library. And but Listen Humanity.
How'd you find the book, though?
That was kind of like in a way, it was something that wasn't planned. I just was looking for a book at that time, which would help me with memorizing lines in show business as far as plays and things. And I figured, the Indians can do all kinds of things. They can put pins in themselves and sit on tails. They got something as good as that to be able to memorize things. And I'm in luck. And so that's, so I went to the section on the Indian philosophy section. So this book, it said, Listen Humanity. And it had a picture of, it was about India. And the only thing I remembered is, I saw the title and I said, is this really going to be able to help me? And the only thing I remembered was only one thing, I was looking at that title and it said, Listen Humanity. And I said, man, this is so personal. This guy is begging. He's like saying, listen. That's where I got it. Listen, somebody, listen. I said, for God's sakes, man, I'll go halfway if you can put a book out. Listen. over there. That was it. I got the book. See what he had to say. That's how it really got the ball going for me. And I saw the picture of Bob with a big garland, like an Indian man with a harem or something like that. I mean, that's how my mind worked. It was always on women and stuff like that. That's as far as I could think. It's been garlanded by women, so okay. So then I did read the book. I started reading the book, and I realized that the book did deal with truth, and that's something I was not acquainted with. And I was thinking, well, I'll just put the book back. But this book has nothing to do with what I'm really interested in. But as I was getting ready to put the book back, I asked myself the question, what do you know about truth? I know nothing about truth. And I said, can you afford to go the rest of your life knowing nothing about truth? And I thought about that. And I said, yeah, because I realized I'm going to be, a lot of years are going to happen in my life. I realized, yeah, I guess I can't afford to not know about truth. So maybe you ought to take the book. So, and then I thought, well, this is a big, heavy book. It's a big book, and you're going to have to actually get a library card if you want to go through that whole process. Filling out a form, and I said, no, I don't think this is getting heavy. I got to carry that book, maybe it's about 9 blocks. And that question came back again. He says, can you afford not to know truth? And I said, well, I guess not. You've got a long road ahead. So I said, go to the librarian. So I went over there, and she just asked me my name and said, put your name down. And then I was right out of there with the book. And then I read the book, and then I realized that there was a higher purpose to life. That book gave me the experience that God did exist. That's what that book did. And out of that, then eventually a lot of other things did occur, but I'll get to the point now of, I'm going to skip over a lot of stuff. Yeah, okay. Well, okay. When in seeing my first...
Okay, maybe what we can do is we can leave it at this sort of tense moment. And then the next time Irwin gets... sorry. The next time it comes up, he can then...
When is the next time?
Okay.
When is the next time? When is the next time?
Good question. Who knows the answer to that?
Now.
Alan Cohen, when's that next?
Did we have the first guest for next year's Sahavas? Okay. What time do we have left?
How about that? Well, how many more minutes?
Right.
How many more minutes do we have? 2 minutes. So this is it. We should wrap. Okay, we should wrap. Ed.
Okay.
Do we have workshops? Do we have a workshop?
Oh.
What time? Sorry. Where? When is the
We'll
workshop?
let you
Okay,
know.
they'll post it or something.
We'll let you know. Yeah, I'm awfully sorry, but it's a great story so far, and I really don't like rushing or compressing things. I like to just let you just.
Anyway, we'll try to see if maybe tomorrow there's a bunch of interviews, and if there's any leftover time, we're going to do.
This is a really great time because I don't want to press anymore.
Didn't interview before, so.
Yeah.
They're going to do a workshop.
Yes.
Anyway, the first time I met Ed, he was selling, was it turquoise jewelry? Yeah, I know,
yes.
covered in turquoise jewelry. I didn't know who this guy was. Jeans, you were really into jeans, right? Denim at that time, everything, denim jacket, denim pants, boots, right? So, anyway, so we have something really great to look forward to. So I thank you all for your indulgence again, and I thank you, Ed.
Okay, and then